Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. This is optibotimus coming at you with another video review. And on today's episode, we're going to be taking a look at the new Transformers Titans Return Leader Class 6-Shot with Decepticon Revolver. And no 6-Shot would be done properly if he actually didn't have 6 modes. And as you can see, this guy does. One of the most anticipated figures in this line since its reveal. For the package, you got that really nice Transformers text along the side with the Generations logo, as well as an open window and an image of Revolver actually detaching from 6-Shot. On the back of the package, you can see that Revolver is compatible with all the other Titans Return figures. You have an image of his robot mode as well as all 5 of his alternate modes. And then along the side here, you have some promotional images for Decepticon Fangry, the Deluxe Class Trigger Happy, obviously the Voyager Megatron, which we've looked at, and of course, Leader Class Soundwave. But for the packaging on this guy, that's about it. So without further ado, let's get him out here and see how cool he actually is. Alright guys, so here we have 6-Shot opened up out of his packaging and in his tank mode. And this guy actually is really very, very fun. Now, there's some aspects of him that I do wish were improved, but for what we're getting and what we're paying for in this figure, I'm quite happy. As you can see, tank mode basically looks like what you would expect with his legs kind of folded up on him. But in general, it's, you know, it looks the way that it's supposed to. None of these were really very super clean looking. And honestly, it was a stretch in some of these different modes. But this isn't bad, I really don't think. You see some really nice panel detailing on here. He does have some stickers, but they are not nearly as bad as what we got with, say, Optimus Prime or Megatron. At least on my copy, they're applied fairly decently. He does have wheels, although they're not really very helpful. Or well, you got one here, and then you got one here in the middle that kinda help it. Not really. I mean, I always kind of looked at this as being like a hover tank, especially with like these bits here kind of looking like hover things. So that's how I've always kind of viewed this. You got the little cannons right up here. You got his just regular guns that peg here along the side. One aspect that I do wish is these pieces here don't tab into anything. They just kind of flop around. I do wish there was a way to kind of lock these into place. Somehow they stay there fairly well. I mean, they're obvious. I mean, you can see they're not flopping or anything, but you can see that they do just slide out. They're just held in there with friction. You can lift this up, and now he has a little cockpit. And remember, Titans Return is doing, you know, all these figures in a Headmaster kind of way. Revolver here was never in anything in that Headmaster sort of series, but 6-Shot was a very prevalent character throughout the Japanese series and was in the 4th season. But here we have Revolver. Pretty decent detail, just simple, you know, white and green molded plastic on them. But you can see some pretty nice detail throughout the entire thing. You got some nice arm detail. All the articulation is the same. You got the little swivel right here for the arms with the little ball joint thing on there. The head does rotate as well. And then you got the hinge section right here at the waist and then the knees itself. To transform him, again, you just rotate that around. And there you have 6-Shot's head, which looks really cool. I love the detail right up there, almost as if it's a bandana or brain parts. I kind of like thinking of it as a bandana because in the Japanese series, he was like a ninja bot, which I thought was really cool. So you do have that amount of detail, really good looking head sculpt on there. I love that. And the helmet that comes out really does fit very nicely. Now, like I said, it wouldn't be a 6-Shot figure if he didn't have 6 modes. And this guy actually, well, depending on how you think of his submarine mode, which we'll get to here in a bit, you could say he probably has more than 6. But to transform him, we're going to remove these guns. They just tab in here along the side and stay in there very securely. I'm very happy with how that is. And we're going to rotate these down, lock these down here right at what will become his knee. So make sure you get that positioned so that's locked into place. We're going to rotate these out, get these out of the way, and kind of detach them. They tab in very securely. One thing that I would be concerned about is you're tabbing it in right here, and there's this silver paint on the tab. I would be concerned about that wearing off over time, especially with how many times you have to kind of detach this to transform things. Then get these arms kind of out of the way like so. Going to rotate these legs around and collapse them in. So rotate here and then collapse them in. There's 2 different joints in here that allow you to bring the actual legs up and tab all that in very securely. So give that a nice little push
right there, and make sure that's situated on both sides. This is going to be the top of his jet mode, so you want to make sure that's all nice and smooth. Fold these in and then these in. And like I was saying, these are kind of staggered so that they overlap one another. And it looks pretty good. You can then rotate these bits out and then spin these around like that. Spin that around like that, and then squeeze that together like so. Come around to these arms again, kind of keep these wings out of the way. These have another hinge right here that allows you to bring it out like so. Then rotate these around, and then spin these in just like that. Can rotate this back section around. Now you could probably collapse this. I don't really think it matters. It's your personal preference, but I like collapsing. It just keeps it a little bit smaller, I guess. So bring that down, and then rotate that around. Collapse that down and in. Come around here to the bottom, you got a little landing strut that just folds out, and then take these, bring these down, keep these sections here, rotate down and around, get those out of the way like that, rotate that down, then bring these down, clip those into place, kind of straighten everything. That kind of twist it a little bit, so keep that nice and positioned. Again, this is the actual top of them, so then you come around here to this, lift this piece, and I absolutely love this. Those little chest wings that he always had, they actually slot in here, which I think is terrific. And then you rotate these around and then bring this back down. And then if you want to, obviously you can still take a revolver, you can put them underneath here and you can tuck them away just to kind of hide them. But there you have 6-shot in his jet mode. And I guess to finalize it, you would take these little bits right here and you slot these along the sides, giving him his little cannons on the sides of his wings. So do that on this side as well. Again, you got the plastic and then you got this nice silver paint. I would be concerned over time doing that, but so far it seems pretty decent. And here you're starting to see some more of those actual sticker details that I was talking about. You got some nice stickers right up here and then on the wings. These are actually, like I said, pretty decently applied. This one's a little bit sloppy, but looking at it, I might actually be able to fix that and kind of line it up. But these stickers really don't seem to get in the way of anything, so they're not really rubbing off, which is definitely nice. But there's his jet mode, and again, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, for what we've always gotten, even in third-party ones, it was never a the perfect figure. But what Hasbro has done is really recreate the look for both the toy and the cartoon. Generally, like I said, you have to kind of stretch your imagination to see them, but I mean, this definitely has that overall look. I mean, I honestly remember when I was a kid playing, and I always used this, because just for some reason, that just looked more like a jet, but this is the way that it's actually supposed to be. So really good detail on it. And you can see the transformation's actually fairly simple, which I dig. I really do appreciate it. Now, going into arguably one of the funniest modes, because for some reason, Hasbro doesn't want to say that it's a gun. They have it as a submarine, which really does just look like the upside down G1 gun. So leaving it like this, you then take the wings, stretch those back. Now the instructions, it's kind of weird how it actually does it. The instructions kind of look like this comes together a lot closer, and it does kind of look like there's a separate hinge here, but I can't actually get that to rotate. I don't know if it's supposed to, and that's the closest that I can get these kind of wings together, so that's what I'm going to leave it at. That tells you to take the wheels back here, rotate those around, and then separate these and put these off to the side. And then you have to reach in here, and again, this is kind of tricky to get out. I know people get nervous when I do it, but I don't really know of another way to do this. But pull that out like so, and do that on the other side as well. Come on, pull out like that. Here you actually then take it, turn it upside down, and then you take the gun and you tab these two pieces together. No, okay, they go like that. Okay, so you go like that, and then you come around here to the actual top section here, and you got these two little slots that slot in here. So you just line that up, give that a nice little push, and this, well, you could probably take this and tuck this away. And again, I love how it just slots right in there. I mean, I think that's so cool. This is what they refer to as the submarine mode. And then obviously you would take the revolver. You can have him kind of flexing here. You can sit him right there if you really want to. You could if you want to. I mean, this is another seat. You could put him there if you want to. But this is the submarine mode. And this honestly is pretty ridiculous. It is literally like the upside down equivalent of the G1 gun, but they probably didn't want to call it a gun. But one thing that's actually cool is you can see you got the wolf head or whatever kind of animal it is. You can actually open the jaw if you want to, and oh look, now you got like a little trigger right there. So it's like 6-shot with 7 forms. So you can have a gun, or hey, you can flip it around if you want to, and you can have a submarine. It's your personal preference, I guess. I mean, why not have both, right? But again, you can see a few more of those sticker details right here with like little Decepticon logos, and then you got some nice silver. Overall, again, you got to stretch your imagination a little bit to kind of see this as a submarine. This looks a little bit better as a gun, but even that's a bit of a stretch. I would imagine that the reason they have it be a submarine and not the gun is just to avoid any kind of worries about, gun toys. I mean, that's just a guess on my part. Now, he also does come with like a armored car mode. So first you take these, and again, you tuck these back in like so. You then actually separate these and rotate these out around like that, and then tab those back and in. So rotate that all the way around like that, tab that in. These sections here then slide out, and you rotate these around, and then you have to extend these all the way till they click, and you have a slot section right here that this little tab on the inside matches up with. So you just bring this up and then slot that in right inside there. I'll rotate that around, and then you can collapse that in like that. So again, rotate this out, spin that around, extend this all the way, then bring this down, get that out of the way, rotate this piece around, extend this down, slot that right in like so. You can then take these little pieces, rotate those out on the sides there, and then you can take these, rotate this back and around, give that a nice little push like so. Actually, it's not supposed to go like that. These go forward like that. And then you can take these guns, you can separate these into 2 different halves, and then you come around here to the top, you got these little sections right up here that you just tab these into on the top bits, just like that. And then again, you got this little section right here where you can then actually take the revolver, tuck them in there, and lift this up. This is like a little radar dish thing, I guess. Alright, we're gonna just wedge you in and pull it up, and like I said, it's a little radar dish. And there you have is like armored vehicle mode. This actually rolls fairly well. I'm actually really impressed with how this turns out. Alternate mode wise, this is probably the best looking, I think, and most compact and functional. As you can see, rolls very well. But again, like I was saying before, you do have to stretch your imagination a little bit. This kind of has like a Mad Max sort of look to it, like with these little just spiky things here on the side. Obviously, because you got another slot right there. If you wanted it to have Revolver have a little partner with him, you can have that right there. So you have that dual side. Throughout this entire thing in different areas, I'm knocking stuff off. You got like a little post right here. You have one right here. You have one right here. So if you want to, you can have, other little Titan Master figures kind of hang out on them. So overall, I mean, really very cool. Like I said, this is probably my favorite looking of the 6 modes, I guess, but with the exception of the robot mode, I would say. And then his final mode would be his wolf, or whatever kind of animal it is. So we're going to remove this, pull this out, take this whole section, rotate this up and around, detach this, and then these are going to kind of just hinge up here like so. You can then separate these and rotate these whole things around. You got the little front foot right there. Do that on this side as well. Detach that, rotate this piece out like so, kind of pivot these arms back. You can then hinge these forward like that. Come around to the legs. These, again, it's tricky to kind of get these to separate without actually detaching these or removing these pieces first. So go ahead, pull these out, and then separate these. Go ahead, swivel them all the way down, get those to lock into place, and then you bring them down like that, and then take the back section, tuck that in. And then just kind of straighten that out. Make sure that that back section is actually locked into place very nicely. Do that on this side as well. Hinge this around. No, I did that backwards. Hinge that. Fold that forward. Kind of position that. Setting him there. Then you take the actual guns, and again, you're going to tab these 2 pieces together like so. Come around here to the back. You got these 2 little kind of posts that correspond with these holes. So you just put that in there and you kind of create a tail for him. And there you have Six Shot in his wolf mode. And this actually looks pretty good as well. It does, again, use some imagination to kind of see it, but that was absolutely true with the original G1 toy, so I don't see too much wrong with this. Now, you can actually take his head, you can tuck this around. You got this big giant hole right here. You can actually take this and tab this down and in. Well, maybe it's supposed to go like that, I think. Well, one of these ways. Maybe it's like that. No, there we go. Okay, you can actually tab it down like that, which kind of fills it out a little bit more, but it does make it a little bit tricky to get out. You do have a little bit of wiggle room to grab things, but that's actually cool that they fill that in. He does have an opening mouth with a little bit of detail in there. You got some teeth here in the top and not really much kind of going on down here. For his articulation in his beast mode here, these obviously are going to become his arms in robot mode, so those can swivel, they can hinge outward, they can't really move in and out or anything. These will rotate, they move forward and back. You got some little toe pivot right there. These back legs, they can kind of flex back here at this section, nothing at what would be like a knee, I guess, although you could maybe say that this is that and then this is the knee. I guess it's all how you perceive it. And then you got some little toe sections right back here. So overall, I mean, I think that this mode does look pretty good. It like I keep saying, you do have to stretch your imagination to kind of see it, but I do definitely see it here. I do wish that the neck had a little bit more kind of bend or articulation where you can really lower it much further. As it is, you can't really get it down too much. That's about as low as it's going to go. But in general, like I said, really very happy with it. Considering they have to put 6 modes in one figure, I give it a thumbs up. Now, the last mode is obviously his robot mode. So go ahead and take that revolver out, wedge your little finger in there, get that out like that, bring these around, tuck this back and in. I'll take out his little tail thing, tuck that down, come around here to the legs, literally just straighten these out like so. You can keep these actually out as they'll be his robot mode feet as well. Bring these down, you then collapse these arms up on both sides just like that, tuck this up and in, come around here to the bottom, rotate out his fists on both sides like so, bring the wings back and up. Helps if I actually have the camera up, rotate this around like so, lift this up, and then because of how narrow it is, you do have to make sure that you're very careful with how the actual head goes in. So slide that in, locking that into place, and then bring that back down, tuck that back up. And like I said, because of the narrowness of the actual helmet, the head looks really good, far better than any figure that we've gotten with that whole helmet gimmick. But when you're done, there you have Six Shot in his robot mode. And this guy absolutely looks terrific. It has been a long time since we had an official Six Shot figure, and in my opinion, Hasbro nailed it. As you can see, for his accessories, you do have his guns. One thing that I do kind of wish is his guns were a little bit better looking. Now, they work pretty good in his various alternate modes. That tabs in there really strongly. But it just, this looks kind of stubby, honestly. You get that in his hand, and it just, I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of the gun. I wish that was done a little bit differently. I mean, I guess maybe you could do something like that, but that still kind of looks a little bit weird just by itself. But for what it is, it's not terrible. But overall, the figure, it really is quite awesome looking. I'm just so happy with it. You can actually take these, you can fold those all the way out if you really want to. It's your personal preference. One thing, he does kind of have the waist here where it kind of feels as if the joint is a little bit too far or not far enough. The ratchet just feels a little bit flimsy, I guess. But the rest of the figure is really very well done. And honestly, I mean, looks great. Robot mode, he comes together very nicely. Everything that I would basically expect, you know, from an official release of Six Shot is here. I think that they did great. Now, like I said, they got the stickers on here. They are that kind of chrome sort of look. They're not all that bad. Like I was talking about, some of them, like here, or no, maybe it's on this one. Yeah, it's on this one where it's not all that straight, but it's not overly terrible. And because these pieces here really aren't rubbing on anything, it doesn't really get in the way, you know, during transformation. And
can cause these to rub off. So, like I was talking about, I love his helmet. I think this is the best looking. I mean, it is pretty big. There's no doubt about it. But I definitely think that the way and how thin it is just is the best helmet that we've gotten on a figure. It's very clean, very concise, looks like the character. Just like I said, is probably the best looking helmet that we've gotten. Now for his articulation, the head can look left and right. It also can look up and down a little bit, not a heck of a lot, but you do get some up and down motion with it. Getting these out of the way, you can rotate the arm. One thing I actually like too is that even if you have them kind of flexed out like that, you can actually still rotate the arms without having to bend them out. The way that the elbow's actually designed, you got a little gap section right there, so as you bring it in, that little wing actually kind of goes through there, and that's pretty cool. Now obviously you leave it all the way there, you're not going to be able to do that, but you can see that it moves it up, so that's actually pretty neat. They can hinge outward like so. If you bring it out, you can actually hinge it a little bit further, but you're really not supposed to. He can rotate at the upper part of the elbow. He's got a joint here at the elbow, but you get a little less than 90 degrees, which again, if you actually extend this, it does look a little bit goofy when you do it. You can actually get a little bit closer to that 90-degree bend, but you're really not supposed to bend that out. The wrists don't move. They move in and out, I guess, just as part of the transformation. Nothing at the waist, unfortunately. The hips, you can move that little skirt piece forward. You can then move the legs forward. You can move them out. They can rotate at the upper part of the thigh. The knees are a little bit weird. When you bend them, you can see that you get this giant gap right here, and that piece actually kind of folds out. So that's a little bit strange. Plus, you do have to be careful because sometimes when you're doing it, that whole section will detach. It's not bad or anything, and if you're just, fairly cautious when you're doing it, it's perfectly fine, but it can detach if you're not careful. I guess you could say that he's got some foot articulation, and then he also does have this ankle tilt right here, which honestly, I'd have no idea why you would ever want to position them that far out. That's kind of strange, to be totally honest with you, but you can do it, I guess. But you can see it's like that or it's like that. There's no in between. If it was an in between, and you can kind of wedge it in between the two joints some. So let me see here. What do we got? Okay, bring that up, lining that up there. You can kind of do it like that where it'll be spread out a little bit. Maybe get some more of those ninja poses for him. But all in all, really very, very cool looking figure. Now, for a comparison, getting him to stand there very nicely, you can see as a leader class figure, he's actually fairly big. By comparison, here he is next to the new Voyager class Optimus. And there is a real big size difference here. And I mean, just because some people may want to see it, here he is how he scales next to the actual masterpiece Shockwave. I mean, he's really large. And I mean, even when you compare him to the original G1 version, he's almost as tall as this guy, and for a G1 toy, this was considered monstrous. But you can see where a lot of the same similarities, in design elements come from. One thing that I actually really do like is the fact that the wings are considerably smaller than this guy's was. Not that the originals was bad or anything, but I think that the wings just are proportioned much nicer on the new guy. And like I said, I love how these little tiny wings actually fold in and kind of slot in between his shoulder blades there, whereas these ones, you literally had to fold them like that. And then bringing out the old tape measure, as you can see at his head, he comes in at a little bit over 9 inches tall. But at his tallest part, which are the actual wings, he's actually a little over 10 inches. Overall, though, I'm really very happy with how this figure turned out. Considering the fact that they had to put 6 modes in one figure, I think they did a very good job. As I said, 6-Shot from the minute he was revealed was one of the most anticipated figures in this Titans Return line. All the modes, yes, are a little bit all over the place, but so was the original G1 toy. As I said time and time again in this video, you really do have to use your imagination, but that's not something that we haven't had to do before. All the transformations on here are actually really very simple. There's just some aspects that I really do think that could have been improved, such as tabbing things in a little bit more securely. But really beyond that, that's the only negative that I can really think of on this figure. I mean, I kind of do wish that the guns were a little bit better and a little bit bigger, but that doesn't take away from my overall enjoyment of the toy itself. And I just really think that this robot mode came together so very, very nicely. So if 6-Shot is a figure that you'd like to add to your collection, he will be hitting various retail locations fairly soon. So good luck and happy hunting. Or as always, there's Big Bad Toy Store. So all you have to do for that is click on the link down in the video description. You'll go to BBTS where you can check out availability on this guy as well as the rest of their wide range of Transformers Titans Return figures. But beyond that, guys, that's about it. So once again, I want to thank you for tuning in. This has been optibotimus. Don't forget that if you like this video to please like and share it. It goes a long way towards helping me out. Also be sure to subscribe in case you haven't already subscribed. That way you get instant email notifications whenever I upload a new video and you never miss out on a future review of mine. Or if you're already subscribed, be sure to click on that little bell on my homepage and double check to make sure your settings are set so that you get those email notifications. And as always, until next time, be excellent to each other.